Good afternoon, everyone.
उसको इसी को चला दो ना, गर्मी में मरता है।
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I hope the voice is audible. We'll be starting the session in another 2 minutes. I think another 2 minutes we'll start the session. Ashish, are we ready to start the session? Good afternoon, everyone. I, on behalf of All India Management Association, welcome you all to this session. We are today lined up for a very interesting webinar, and which we are doing in collaboration with MDI Murshidabad. I have the opportunity to have with me a line of dignitaries from both the institution, that is IMA and MDI. And I would like to start with an introductory remark from our director, Dr. Raj Agarwal. Dr. Raj Agarwal has been heading the Center for Management Education, IMA. And under his guidance, IMA has set up a India Case Research Center. And under this Case Research Center, we are developing couple of cases which are India-centric cases. And in this center, we have also collaborated with MDI Murshidabad to develop certain cases and also organize webinars and conferences. And under this collaboration, we are organizing this particular webinar. So with that, a very brief note, I would request Dr. Raj Agarwal to give his introductory remark and welcome speech, sir.
Yeah, good morning, all of you. Thank you, Anuja, Dr. Anuja. On behalf of IMA, it is my privilege to welcome all of you in this collaborative workshop of IMA and MDI Murshidabad. We are really delighted to organize this workshop in collaboration with the MDI Murshidabad. My connection, I think Dr. Atma Ram, he has already joined. So this my connection with Dr. Atma Ram is 25 years old when he was editor of Paradigm in IMT Ghaziabad. Then he published my two cases, one on floriculture and second on this exporting education. I was thrilled to know that I have written two cases and these were published. But when my mentor, one of the greatest guru of management, Professor Mrityunjay Atraya, when he saw these cases, so he simply replied that these are not the cases. These are simply illustration of the cases, right? So in case writing, there is a complete structure, and structure, this is very scientific, and their purpose and objective, whether this case is written for this teaching purpose, or case is written for this research purpose, or case is written for using the best industry practices, that should be very, very clear. But here, whenever there is going to be a teaching in a class, so sometimes some kind of illustrations are going to be provided, so that you have written. So then I realized that case study method, a pedagogy, this require a kind of vigorous training. And then over the period of time, in last 25 years, we have seen that this case study method that has developed very rigorously in our country. And IMA also set up this case research center to promote B school faculty members as well as industry practitioners, that how they can write cases, and how IMA can you can provide them an opportunity, so then they can utilize their potential by taking the opportunity from IMA. In this context, we have also organizing workshop independently in collaboration with our partners, in collaboration with the AICT also. AICT has also given a sanction to us, and we have quite a good number of faculty members, quite good experts, those who are guiding us, and quite good people from the industry. So I hope that this workshop is also going to be quite productive, and we too have lined up sizable number of experts from all over India. They too are providing us guidance in writing cases as well as in teaching cases. So with these words, I would like to welcome all of you in this workshop, and I hope that this workshop is also going to be helpful to you in facilitating case writing as well as in case teaching methods. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for a very brief but a very strong opening remark, which has set in the context as to why we have all joined in today for this webinar and a workshop, as we have been calling it. And with that, I would request Dr. Shobik Banerjee, Chairman, MDI, Murshidabad Case Research Center, to take it forward and introduce the Director MDI. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Anuja Pandey, madam. Thank you, Dr. Raj Agarwal, sir, for his excellent inaugural speech. Now, let me introduce Director MDI Murshidabad, Professor Dr. Atmanand. Professor Dr. Atmanand is a renowned economist, administrator, and academician, currently working as Director MDI Murshidabad. He has worked as Director Additional Charge of MDI Gurgaon. He is also the Independent Director of Central Bank of India and PTC India Limited, and was also Independent Director of SEL. Dr. Atmanand's experience in teaching, research, and consultancy is of more than 34 years, and he is one of the longest serving deans of India. He has taken many new initiatives, like the launch of the MDI School of Energy Management, Journal of IMT Ghaziabad, and established MDIM, to name a few. He has contributed to various national responsibilities as member of the State Finance Commission, Government of Bihar, Planning Commission, Government of India, and as member of Ad hoc Task Force, Cabinet Secretariat, Government of India. Member of Review Committee, Ministry of Ayush, Government of India. Member of Advisory Committee, Ministry of Power, Government of India. Dr. Atmanand has authored 16 books and published more than 100 research papers in referred national and international journals. He has undertaken several consulting assignments in the area of energy, insurance, infrastructure projects, social development, leadership, etc. He specializes in public enterprise management, management of energy and environment, power, oil and gas, steel, financing infrastructure projects, project finance, economic and business environment, public policy and management. His contribution of many years has been recognized in the form of awards like Rashtriya Gaurav Award for his excellence and contribution in the Nation Building, Indian Achievers Award for Corporate Leadership 2010, Economic Development Award for Excellence in Higher Education 2011, Exemplary Global Leadership Award 2010, and appreciation letters from various departments like Ministry of Power, Government of India, and SEL. Professor Dr. Atmanand's vision statement is to have people around him who are thinkers, doers in one person. He spreads the policy of connect, nurture, and grow. So with these words, I request respected Director MDI Murshidabad, Dr. Atmanand, to give his inaugural speech and set the tone of this workshop.
Thank you, Dr. Shavik. Thank you, Dr. Anuja, and thank you very much, Raj Agrawal sir. It is my privilege to welcome and introduce you all. I hope I am audible to all of you.
Yes.
Yeah, it is my privilege to welcome and introduce you all to MDI Murshidabad with an intention to impart quality management education, nurture talent, and groom them to become visionary leaders and game changers. The MDI Society had established its second campus at Murshidabad in West Bengal. After laying off the foundation stone in October 2010 by the then President of India, Sri Pranab Mukherjee, MDIM has not looked back. It commenced its flagship academic program, PGPM, in 2014. We have Bloomberg Finance Lab, e-library, online courses, online MDPs, and new courses like artificial intelligence, machine learning, HR analytics, digital marketing, business analytics, and entrepreneurship, to name a few. They provide us an edge over others. We were awarded A star at national level and A star at state level by CRISIL in 2020. NHRDN ranked MDI Murshidabad as #1 in the category of emerging business schools in India in the year 2019. We also become a member of the prestigious Association of Management Development Institutions in South Asia, MDISA, starting April 2019. In the past year, several initiatives have been taken at MDI Murshidabad. We have taken steps to increase our international outreach by developing educational ties with SAARC countries. The Institute has signed MOUs with Maharatnas, Navratnas, and private companies to do training programs, research, and consulting, along with enriching educational progress. It is in this context that we have also signed MOU with AIMA for joint collaborative research, training, and case development programs also. And I'm indeed grateful to Sri Raj Agrawal sir for giving us an opportunity to sign this collaborative MOU for mutual benefits of AIMA as well as MDI. We have signed MOUs with international universities for summer immersion programs for students. We are highly focused to create an ethical and knowledge-centric culture that values outstanding academic excellence, training, research, and consultancy. My dear friends, MDIM's vision is to be an internationally excellent business school known for our academic ambition and influence in building a responsible future for both business and society globally. I take this opportunity to introduce a very close mentor of MDIM, Dr. Raj Agrawal. He is a professor and director of AIMA, Center for Management Education. He is also a visiting research professor in Montana State University, Billings, United States. He has more than 35 years of academic experience of working in prestigious national institutions like AIMA and also been member of AICT, NAC, and NBA. Let me also introduce to a visionary and hardworking associate professor at AIMA, Dr. Anuja Pandey. She is the head of India Case Research Center, AIMA ICRC, and also the managing editor of AIMA Journal of Management and Research, AJMR. She works as a resource person of numerous case workshops on case-based teaching and learning. And I think that Dr. Raj Agrawal has very well highlighted about the importance of the case method of teaching in the management education. Dr. Anuja has definitely taken it forward on behalf of AIMA. Thank you, Dr. Anuja. All of you guessed right now that Dr. Anuja is the resource person of today's workshop. My dear friends, in the post-COVID-19 world, as social distancing norms are taking shape, the online classes are becoming new normal. In this context, business education faces new challenges. As case-based teaching is one of the cornerstones of business education, the question is how case-based teaching adapts to online class environment, especially how to conduct discussions of case studies, as quality peer group discussions are considered the holy grail of case-based teaching. In this backdrop, this workshop, I'm sure, going to help the participants to adapt themselves to the new reality of case-based class in an online environment. IMA and MDIM together are changing challenges into opportunities. Thank you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Over to Professor Shovik.
Yeah. Thank you, Director, sir. And so, MDI Murshidabad launched its Center of Excellence in Case Research, that is MDI CRC, in the year 2019. And MDI Murshidabad is now an affiliate of IMA promoted India Case Research Center, that is IMA ICRC. So educational institutions are known not only for their knowledge dissemination capabilities, but also for their knowledge creation capabilities. MDM CRC intends to be a leading knowledge repository in the field of business cases in the days to come. The center intends to publish an edited volume of business cases this year, call for paper for which is already out. I, on behalf of MDM Case Research Center, thank our respected director, Dr. Atmanand sir, for his support and encouragement all along. I thank Dr. Raj Agarwal, Director Center of Management Education, IMA, for his time as well as support for Associate Professor IMA and Head IMA ICRC, and one of the resource person for today's workshop for her unflinching support all along. I would also like to thank Dr. Upinder Dhar, Vice Chancellor Sri Vaishnav Vidyapith Vishwavidyalaya, Indore, for sparing some of his valuable time to be a resource person for today's workshop. I thank Dr. Sheetal Jain, case author ICRC, for her time as a resource person for this workshop. I hope MDI Murshidabad will organize many more such joint workshops and programs, other programs in the days to come. I thank my faculty colleagues and students from MDI Murshidabad for their active participation. I'll fail in my duty if I do not thank the technical and administrative support people in both IMA and MDI Murshidabad. I once again welcome all the participants who have joined from all over the country and thank them for their active participation. Last but not the least, I thank Dr. Vikramjit Pal, my colleague and co-coordinator of this workshop. So over to you, Madam, Dr. Anuja, Madam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Shovik. It was a pleasure listening to Professor Atmanand and Dr. Raj Agarwal and you. And I take this opportunity to also thank all the participants who have joined in. I think we had an overwhelming response. When we thought about organizing this workshop, we thought that we would be addressing to a couple of people from MDI and maybe some of the students from MDI. And but when we floated the workshop, it actually got a very tremendous response. And probably this is the need for the day, where we need to really collaborate with each other and come up with some very good case studies, and also develop a way by which we can reinvent our own teaching and learning process. And before we start with this particular session, I'll take just couple of minutes to take you to the understanding or briefing you about IMA Case Research Center. So IMA Case Research Center was set up in 2017 with very active support from the academia and industry. And we have been collaborating, reaching out to very senior people into the industry to help us out in setting up this center. So I'll just take you to my website, which is the India Case Research Center website. This is a portal site that we have created for disseminating knowledge, and it is more of a knowledge portal. And in this center, as I have talked about, we have got a very, very active support from both academia and industry. We have here on our advisory board best of the people from the industry. To name few, we have been very strongly supported by Dr. and TV Mohandas Pai. I think he has been a pioneer and has really given us a lot of motivation to set up this particular center. And he has been very active in really looking into what type of cases we are developing, and every day we have been floated out with various ideas of case development. And in this COVID time, he has been actually giving us a lot of inputs as to where the direction of cases should be there and what we should be teaching in our B schools. With his active support, we also have a very active support from Mr. Nikhil Shawnee. Preetha Reddy was one of our founder person who actually helped us in developing this case center. This case center is currently being headed by Dr. Rajan Saxena, ex-Vice Chancellor, Nasir Mohanji University, and has been instrumental in guiding us as to how academic cases should be written and how we need to be teaching these academic cases. We have been very strongly supported by Mr. D. Shiv Kumar. I think he needs no introduction, and the energy that he puts in into any of the activity he monitors is excellent. And probably he has been guiding us into looking into the industry and reaching out to the industry people in developing case studies. We have been here guided by our Director General, Dr. Rekha Sethi, who has been very keen on getting up good cases, and probably she looks at the academia to really come forward at this point in time to develop more and more cases. So at this point in time, we are really looking for a huge contribution from the academicians. They need to come and collaborate with IMA, not only to develop cases, but there are some opportunities also where they can actually collaborate with us. Maybe these are opportunities where we already have some information about cases from industry which needs to be redesigned and converted in form of teaching cases. We have been very actively supported by Dr. J.K. Mitra. He has been into our advisory board, into our board of studies also, and also been guiding us into editing of the cases, and has mentored a lot of people who have published cases with IMA Case Research Center. Dr. Bhimrao Maitri is currently the Board of Studies chairman and has been guiding us into the whole process of incorporating cases into the curriculum. He has been really very actively speaking to AICT and developing the model curriculum. And he has actually suggested that the cases which we are developing at IMA Case Research Center should be incorporated with the management curriculum. And his vision is that IMA's cases should be such that they should actually be taught with major B schools and should be integrated one-on-one in subject-wise into the curriculum. So he has been insistent on looking into the model curriculum, identifying where the gaps are, where we do not have cases which are India origin cases or India centric cases, and develop those cases and bring them to the B school students so that they become more alive to the challenges of the industry. And probably with this support that we are getting it from him in reaching out to other bodies and typically organizations like AICT has been tremendous. We have been supported by Dr. Pulak Ghosh, by Dr. Professor Balach Krishnamurthy, Professor R. Ramesh from IIM Bangalore, Professor Arun Pereira has been very instrumental in shaping us the idea about the cases, Professor Narayan Jagnath, and many more. This website, if you look into it, would talk about it. But what I wanted to talk about now is something where I wanted you all to take attention is that this case center is, as I have talked about, is a collaborative portal where we have a casepedia which publishes cases which are published through or developed under the Ignis of India Case Research Center. So these are cases where my faculty members from different B schools or maybe senior people, practicing managers, are collaborating and developing cases for India Case Research Center. Here, any institution which is collaborating with us would also, which is into the case, collaborating at the case development process. We have a co-authored system where co-authored cases and co-collaborated cases can be published under this Casepedia case journal. Apart from that, we also have a catalog which we call as a case catalog, which is a compilation of cases which are being developed by other B schools. So these are cases where we have collaborated with our partners. IIM Ahmedabad is a very strong partner for us. And ISB, Indian School of Business, has been another very strong partner with us. We have almost 250 cases from IIM Ahmedabad, IIM Bangalore, and IIM ISB already on our portal. If somebody is looking to really incorporate cases in their teaching methodology and are looking for India-centric cases, this is a very this portal gives you a complete listing of the cases which are India-centric cases, and from here you can go into the course detail, the case detail, and from the case detail you can further look into if this meets your educational objective. The case abstracts are listed, and also the additional information which would help you to see whether this case is something which you are looking forward to meet up your educational requirement. So from this site you can land up to IIM Bangalore site or IIM ISB site for final purchase of cases. So this is where we are trying to list out all the cases. Our idea is to create a complete repository of India-centric cases which are published from various institutions across India, so that anybody who's looking to teach and incorporate India-centric cases, this should be the first portal they should be looking for. And that is the reason why we are open to a lot of collaboration, both at the faculty level where they can collaborate with us to write cases, and at institutional level where they can come up and maybe put up some of their cases on our website, and we can generate traffic to their case center. And at the same time, looking for joint workshops, joint conferences, and very shortly we would be organizing a case competition, join hands in that also. That is another perspective that we have. Apart from that, hello. Apart from that, we are also collaborating with various industries. So a lot of industry corporates have actually come forward. So we are now coming up with a series of 4 cases which are developed by the Hero Group. We have now pulling up those cases, and we have almost another 10 cases which are onto the industry best practice cases, which would be shortly on our portal. So we are looking for all sort of collaboration. We want to bring all these collaborations into active collaboration, where we reach out to people, reach out to affiliating organization, and join in this journey. So we have already signed MOUs with a lot of organizations, and we are open to more collaboration and more working. This was the basic understanding or I wanted to share with India Case Research Center. And in this India Case Research Center, anybody who's sending up their case studies gets a very strong editorial support. We have a very strong editorial board which guides the people. When we have taken up the case after first desk review, if the case is admitted into the India Case Research Center, he is given a very strong hand-holding is done by the editorial support that we have. All the senior academicians are part of this editorial board. And now with the use of technology, we are organizing online case consultation sessions also, where we help into the complete review process. Once the review has been done and finally it has been approved by the reviewing board, the cases are then sent to the editorial board, which is again also headed by people with very rich experience of editing cases for ISBs and IIM Ahmedabad kind of organization, and they finally help us into the editing. So my final product of the case itself is a very nicely done product, and I would like to really want that please visit the case portal, and also see a couple of very interesting cases which we have actually come up. And probably these are some of the cases which we have developed onto the NPA case. There is a case about the Notebandi. There is also a case on environmental upcycling of products. There is also some very interesting cases which you can adopt into your teaching pedagogy itself. So please look into this site. With that, I am sure most of you would be coming back to this particular site. So with that, we come up to the end of this presentation that I wanted to make about India Case Research Center. And I would now start with our session for the day, the reason why all of you have joined us together here in this workshop. So this particular session, this is a technical session, as we call it. This is a session where we are actually talking about how the online teaching is now being taken up typically into the situation, the challenges that we are facing today. And to do the discussions, I initially we looked into this perspective that probably this would be a linear session which would be taken by me, but then we thought that it would be, since the audience response was so great, I'm really thankful to all the audience, all the participants who have joined in together today. So we thought that let's make it a little more valuable, and let's increase the takeaway from the session. So we requested Professor Upendra Dhar, and he has accepted our invitation. I'm so thankful for sir to join us today. So we have the pleasure of having first talk by Dr. Upendra Dhar, and a very brief introduction about sir. Though sir needs no introduction, he has been part of the case development in India. I think from the time a lot of us faculty like me who have started teaching, I think from that time onwards we have been reading about the cases and the workshops which sir has been doing. So Professor Dr. Upendra Dhar has joined as Vice Chancellor Sri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya on 29 January 2015, and has been heading that institution. Prior to that, he was the Vice Chancellor and Pro-Vice Chancellor Academics of Amity University, Noida. Apart from that, he has been the first Vice Chancellor of JK Lakshmi Pati University, Jaipur, and has been the faculty and with Nirma University, and has been the person who had pioneered the concept of cases at Prestige Institute. So I'm sure some of the faculty like me would have attended some of his workshop at Prestige Institute. And today I request sir to really give a little insight as to what all cases are about, and how the concept of case teaching, case pedagogy is changing in this online format. So over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Anuja. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Dr. Raj Agarwal, Dr. Atmanandji, and all other friends who are present. First of all, I would like to extend my grateful thanks to AIMA for inviting me to this forum. Well, I'm given to understand that we have participants who have already attended a workshop earlier conducted by AIMA, and today we'll be giving them additional input on cases. So I'll be dividing my presentation. I will not be using any PPT. I will speak extempore. It has got three parts. You see, one is case writing, how it started and how it reached our country. Second is case teaching, using cases as a pedagogy. And third part is what has been stimulated by COVID-19, that is teaching cases online. So I will briefly talk about these three parts. First, as we know, cases were introduced to management education, to business education in Harvard Business School. Immediately after Harvard Business School was established in 1908, one of the major methods that was adopted for teaching business concepts was case method. This method was adopted from other disciplines like legal education. In legal education, case method was already in use, and also medical education. In medical education also, case method was already in use. So from borrowing this concept from medical education and legal education, it came to business education in Harvard Business School. Gradually, other business schools also started adopting this method. So far as our country is concerned, it took some time because our this method came to our country first when the second IIM was established. That is IIM Ahmedabad. IIM Ahmedabad was the second IIM. First IIM was IIM Calcutta, but it didn't go to IIM Calcutta. It came to IIM Ahmedabad. It was second IIM because IIM Ahmedabad was established with the assistance of Harvard Business School. That is the logic. That is the reason how it arrived to IIM Ahmedabad, not to IIM Calcutta, which was established slightly earlier. Because IIM Calcutta was established with the assistance of Sloan Business School. So their more focus was on quantitative methods. And in Harvard, major method that was emphasized was case method. So it arrived, so far as our country is concerned, it came to IIM Ahmedabad first. In 1960s, 70s, there used to be one ITP, International Teachers Program, which was organized by a consortium of business schools. And teachers at that time, faculty of management at that time in India, used to attend this ITP, which was a sandwiched MBA program in a way. And through that program, they used to pick up and learn about the case method. That's what it happened initially. But after IIM Ahmedabad was established, this method was used more frequently. Even students were given projects to develop the cases, and faculty also took a lot of interest in writing the cases. Gradually, it didn't go to other business schools or other management institutes very fast in India. It took some time, though those teachers, those professors who had attended ITP and or who had done a management program in United States were familiar with this method, but this method was not very frequently used in the Indian context. There were some universities which took the initiative of using cases file, like FMS Delhi started using cases. Other institutions also started taking, but we can count them on fingers. You see, later on, when mushrooming in a way, what we generally say mushrooming of business schools, that means large number of business schools were set up in early 90s, 1990s, say 93, 94 onwards. Number of business schools were established. In 1989 or 90, 1989, 1990, around that period, there were hardly 120 business schools in the country. And out of those, most of the business schools were university teaching departments. But after 93, 94, when government of India as a policy invited the private sector to come forward and set up the business schools, number went up very fast. By the year 2000, number exceeded 2,000 business schools. And now today, we have more than 4,500 business schools. Now, going back to 1993, 94, that time when number of business schools started growing, what was required, what was the need was felt to have faculty who can teach business concepts, those who can teach business administration, who are having some background in teaching business administration. In business administration, one of the major methods which was called for was, say, case method. At that time, some organizations took the initiative of organizing workshops and training faculty. AIMA was one of those pioneers. which started organizing case workshops for the benefit of the Faculty of Management. Similarly, AIMS, Association of Indian Management Schools, also started organizing training programs, case writing and teaching programs, workshops across India to facilitate the teachers of business administration. Similarly, IGNO also organized some workshops at that time. Similarly, IIM Ahmedabad started conducting some workshops to facilitate the teachers at that time. Then over the period of time, see, initially the workshops which were conducted, they were more like in a lecture mode. That means senior professors would come to the session, they will deliberate upon what is a case, what is case method, how it can be used, what should be done when we are using case as a tool, teaching pedagogy, and so on and so forth. So it used to be in lecture mode initially. Then over the period of gradually, it was realized that simply delivering a lecture may not be enough, because such workshops were attended by some senior teachers also, who felt that, well, who would know this from book also, or some of it is already known to us, but we are not getting hands-on experience. Therefore, lately, we can say late 1990s, some workshops started wherein hands-on experience was given. The faculty members, the participants, were given an opportunity to visit the companies, collect the information, collect the data, and then write the cases. Because at that time, there used to be dearth of Indian cases. The number of Indian cases was very small. And when we were using these cases, it was many times felt that students are not able to connect those situations with the reality, because most of the cases which were used at that time were either written in Harvard or some other place. So most of the cases were not written in the Indian context. Very few were written in the Indian context. So therefore, need was felt that we should write more Indian cases so that students and teachers can have a connect between the reality, Indian reality, and the content of the case. That's how workshops started in late 1990s within our country, at different parts of the country. And I, as one of the teachers of management, I have been in teaching profession for last 42 years. I was one of those who felt that, yes, we need to have it in a workshop mode. So from 1997, I started conducting workshops to facilitate writing cases during the workshop. Initially, even I was not confident, can we write a case in the span of 3 days? But then once we did it, I did it in 97, May 1997 was the first workshop. So it was great. So we were able to visit a company, interact with the executives, collect the information. Second day, full day was dedicated to writing the cases, drafting, redrafting, and then keep on redrafting till all members of the group were convinced that, yes, we have been able to have the flow and capture the reality in that particular case. And then finally, each group of the participants would make presentations on the third day, and finally those cases were published. Later on, once cases were ready for use, they were also registered in various clearing houses. One of the popular clearing houses was European Case Clearing House, ECCH, which was later on renamed as the Case Center. So a lot of cases which were developed through workshops, these workshops were registered with European Case Clearing House for global use. And then rest is this history, in the sense that across India, whichever cases have now, we have a large pool of Indian cases. And AIMA Case Center has also, as we have already heard Anuja, large number of cases have been developed. So we have a large pool, but at the same time, keeping the number of business schools in mind, keeping the number of students who are passing out every year, around 3 lakh plus, keeping the executives, large pool of executives for whom we conduct training programs, management development programs. We need more cases. So it is not enough. It cannot be the end. It has to be a continuing process. Fortunately, through these workshops, many of our teachers across country are now trained to write these cases and then use these cases successfully in the class. So first part is case writing. So we should be able to capture the reality and in the case. So a very simple definition to remember is case is a chronological narration. If we are able to put the whole situation in a chronological narration with a flow, we are writing a case. So it should be based on the facts. That is very important. See, these are some do's and don'ts when we write a case. It should be based on the facts. And that's where there is a departure between case and the fiction. Fiction can be the outcome of the imagination of the author or the novelist. It may go to any extent. Hero may jump from the 18th floor of a building and then start running. That can happen in a fiction, but it cannot happen in a case because case is based on the facts. Case is based on the reality that we capture by going to the industry, by going to an organization, having a dialogue and an interaction with the concerned person, recording the experiences, and then putting them in a chronological narration. So, first important point to remember is that case is not just a story based on imagination, no. So, case is different from a fiction. This is the first point to remember. Second, when we write a case, what we need to keep in mind is that the language should be simple. We should use simple language, simple sentences. Don't use complex sentences. So we should avoid using complex sentences. Sentences should be simple in a matter of fact language. So it should be direct, very simple language. This is the second important point that we need to remember when we are writing a case. Thirdly, when we are writing a case, that is, we make a group. When we are in a case writing workshop, we divide all participants into groups, what we generally call syndicate method. We divide them into groups, syndicates. Why do we divide them into a group? Why should a group write a case? Why shouldn't one individual write a case? The reason is to overcome any kind of judgment. So we should not be judgmental while writing a case. So if I am writing a case alone, it's possible that my judgment may influence the facts. I may put in my own perceptions in it. With the result, it may go away from the reality. That is to correct it, it is necessary to have some more people who can have a check. Each member of the group can become a check for other members. Therefore, to overcome this tendency to use judgment, we need to have a group of persons, maybe 4, maybe 5, who can discuss amongst themselves, exchange their notes, and maintain or keep the facts intact. So don't use judgment. Use matter of fact situation. So matter of fact situation should come into the case. Because in a way, as it is said, that case is simply a bringing reality into class. So if we have to bring reality into the class, then we have to see to it that reality remains intact. We do not go away from the reality. We do not go away from what has actually happened in a situation. So this is another important point that we need to remember. So don't be evaluative or judgmental. We need to share what has been explained to us by the concerned person who is the first witness of the situation which we are capturing in the case. This is another point that we have to remember. When a group of, during the workshop, when a group goes to a particular company, a particular organization, they interact with the concerned executive there who shares his experiences. But then there again are some do's and don'ts. The executive concerned should not feel that the people are there to spy upon him. He should not get that kind of feeling. Therefore, it is the responsibility of the group of participants who go up to the company. They should make the concerned executive comfortable so that he doesn't get a feeling otherwise. Make him feel that, yes, we are here to learn from certain experiences that he had or she had. So we are simply, as teachers or as trainers, capturing the experiences that he or she had. And there is nothing like spying on anyone. It's only a learning process, so that we can teach as teachers or as trainers, we can teach certain concepts with the help of these experiences by capturing them, by capturing these experiences as cases. So this is the first important point that we have to remember. The executive with whom we are interacting during the workshop should not feel should not feel insecure in any way. He should be comfortable. So this is the first point. Second, group members must develop the rapport with the person. Rapport building, rapport establishment is very important. So we should develop the rapport so that further communication becomes easier. It becomes facilitative. Thirdly, one of the group members should speak at a time. We should not speak together. One person should explain the purpose of the visit so that the concerned executive feels free in sharing his experiences. So whatever he says, we should note it down. Generally, we have observed that there is a tendency that if one person is noting, others feel that we need not to note, so somebody is noting. We should not do that. Because generally, teachers and trainers who are normally the participants of such workshops, or even students who may be the participants of such workshops, do not know stenography. So they cannot write at a great speed. There is a specific speed with which they can write. Therefore, it is possible, if one person only is writing, it is possible that some thoughts may be missed out. That's why it is necessary that all the members of a group should write, should note down, and note down verbatim as shared by the concerned person, concerned executive. Don't feel that, okay, we can understood, we can write in our words. Don't. At that stage, don't do it. Write verbatim. Even if the person is repetitive, don't worry. We should not evaluate. You see, generally, we have a tendency, when someone is speaking, we have a tendency to evaluate it simultaneously, that what he is saying, or whether it is right or wrong. Don't be evaluative at that time. We should let the person speak. Even if you feel that, well, that may be right, may not be right, don't be evaluative. Note down. And then use paraphrasing. Paraphrasing means sir, just 1 minute. Do you mean this? Do you want to say this? So that means we are in a way confirming whether we have understood the point correctly or not. So paraphrasing should be used. This is called, it is a communication skill. Paraphrasing, that means restating what the person has already said. So in between, we can say, sir, just a minute, you wanted to say this way. Have I understood it correctly? So that is what is paraphrasing. Paraphrasing as a communication skill should be used so that speaker and all members of the group are in sync. It's not that he wants to say something and we understand something else. That should not happen. Thirdly, next is that whatever he is saying, we should not start argument on that. We should not say, for example, if he is sharing some experience that, well, this was the situation, and then company thought that we should do it this way or we should do it that way. Then at that time, we should not argue. We should not say, no, how can you say that? How can you do that? So we should not question what he is sharing. So don't get argumentative with the person who is sharing his experiences with the group. And finally, we should also leave a note with him that, well, in case, say, we will not be able to come back during this workshop, we may not be able to come back to you. But in case we need any additional information while writing the case, so would you mind if we get in touch with you? So kindly share your mobile cell number, or whatever way you would like us to contact you, so that we can contact you while we are writing the case, say the next day of the workshop. So with this, whatever literature executive wants to share, that can be taken, but we should not insist on any particular literature of the organization. See, earlier, we used to get a lot of, when we used to go to, say, 20 years back, 25 years back, 30 years back, when we used to go to companies, we used to get a lot of, the executives there used to give a lot of literature of the company to know more about the company and so on. But now, in these 25 years, 30 years, times have changed. Because almost everything is on the website now. So these days, in general, we don't take the literature, or literature in that way is not shared, because everything is on the website. We can always see the website and know more about the company. So this is one of the stages when we are actually collecting the information. And in fact, during these years, we have developed a 4D model for writing the cases. First D stands for data and information collection, which we do the first day. Second D stands for drafting. Second D is drafting, when we start drafting what we have collected from the company. So all of us, all group members sit together, they start writing what they have understood from the person who shared. They exchange their notes. Maybe one point has been missed by one participant. Other member of the group can share that. So we see the continuity and draft it, redraft it, keep on redrafting till all members of the particular group are satisfied that yes, we are through it. Sometimes it has been seen that the information that has been collected, the data that we have received is diverse in nature. So we may, out of this one communication, one visit, we may write 2 cases, depending upon the volume of information that we have been able to get. But then what we always need to remember is that there should not be race for number. That we should not do. That, well, that group is writing 2 cases out of one visit, we will write 3. Don't do that. We should not race for the number. What is important, even if you write one good quality case, it is done. Purpose is served. So number game should not be there. Concentrate on writing what you have collected. Do not, as I said in the beginning, we should not fictionalize it. We should not use imagination to go far, go away from reality. That should not be done. Stick to the facts. Write it down. Once it has been done, then we go to the third D, that is discussion. We discuss this case with other groups who have also completed their draft. So we share the case, seek their suggestions, and vice versa. So this helps us in overcoming some maybe personalized sentences in the case. If there are certain personalized sentences, or if there is some personal bias which can be seen, so with the suggestions of the other group, we can overcome that. So we can discuss it. So this is the third stage. So each group shares with other groups that what they have done. And then the finally fourth D is documentation. The case once written cannot be disseminated unless we document it. And here in this, here in our context, the documentation means publishing. We need to publish it. We need to publish it. We need to register it with a clearinghouse. Like I gave you an example of the case center where case can be registered, and so on and so forth, so that more people have access to it. More students, more teachers, more trainers have access to it. That is what is required. So in a workshop, which we start, a kind of environment is developed, a milieu is developed. Therefore, we tend to feel motivated to write the case, to write down the case study. Many times we have seen, if you feel that, okay, I can complete this case later on. That doesn't happen because that climate is not there. Climate is developed during the case writing workshop. So we should not keep anything pending. Don't procrastinate that, okay, it can be done later on when I go back to my workplace. It doesn't happen. So finish it during the workshop itself and see to it that case gets published, or in other words, documented for more dissemination. This is the writing part which I wanted to share with you. Now I would quickly share with you the teaching part, how to teach a case. How should it be taught? And then finally, I will also tell you, so far as the online cases are concerned, how to use cases. What are the requirements for choosing a case for online teaching? Now, see, so far as case discussion is concerned, it's a very powerful. Yes, Anuja? How much time is left?
Sir, another 7 minutes because we have to close down at 4:35.
Another 7 minutes?
Yes, sir.
7 minutes? Okay, I will quickly do it. Well, see, in case teaching, what we do, we divide class time into 4 parts. First part is when students or participants are asked to go through the case, understand what the case is all about, and prepare a write-up. And generally, to save, because class time is limited, so we circulate the case beforehand, ask them to read the case, go through the case, and prepare a write-up in terms of what the situation is, the situation given in the case, what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, what are the opportunities, what are the risks, and what are the threats. SWOT, or ETOP, or SAP, whatever method we adopt. Second stage, which may be in the class, we divide the whole class into various groups. And generally, the size of group has been found to be 4 to 6 is optimum number, 4 to 6. A group should not exceed 6. Then it becomes ineffective. Then you will see some passengers in the group. That means they are just simply sitting, not participating. So 4 to 6 has been found to be an effective size for the group discussion. They will discuss on the write-ups that they have prepared, identify common strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and so on by consensus. And once that has been done, they should also identify their representative. Each group will identify a representative. Then we move to the third stage, third phase. In third phase, one representative of each group will make a presentation before the whole class so that everybody understands what analysis has been done. Anyone can ask questions and anyone from that particular group can respond to it. And that's how the discussion goes forward. Here, the care that we have to take is that at any stage, we should not use argumentation method. Argumentation is an established method which is used in legal education, which is used in the court of law. But in case method, we don't use argumentation method, we use discussion. Discussion is another method, which is more flexible, which is always having a third angle. So be flexible. And then finally, the fourth phase, which is more popularly called debriefing. In debriefing stage, in the fourth phase, we try to sum up what we have learned, what are the teachings, what we have learned, and normally the teacher, teacher is generally identified as a facilitator when you use case method as a pedagogy. So we sum up, try to draw learnings from the case that we have to do. So here we need to remember there is no final answer to a case. It is unlike a mathematics problem. So there can be a same problem may be solved by 2 executives differently and successfully. So there is no final answer. So we have to be flexible. So these are the 4 phases that we use when we are using case as a method. So class time is to be divided into these 4 phases. Now finally, let me go to the online part, which our COVID has precipitated. Although online teaching had already started, but COVID-19 has accelerated the process. Now we are doing it more, and we'll be doing it more post-COVID. We'll be having more of online classes, more of online sessions. And the question is, can we use case method online? Yes, it can be. And it is already being used at number of business schools. But then What are the attributes which are helpful in choosing a case for online teaching? Is it that any case can be lifted and picked up and used for online case method? No. We have to remember certain attributes for that. Number one, it has been observed through experience that if we use a case where participants can easily identify with the company, identify with the industry, identify with the character which is depicted in the case, the person or the persons, the interest goes up. The interest of the participants goes up. So that's what we have to keep in mind, that the case is in that sense relevant to the context. It is more contemporary in that sense. People should be able to identify with it. We should talk about an industry. We should talk about a product which is existing. If you are talking about a product which is obsolete, which is not existing today, it may not interest many people. We may not be able to retain the attention of the participants. Second, recent case. See, online experience is that when we are using case method in online teaching, use a recent case. It has been seen when we are using a recent case, we are able to retain the attention of the participants. So when we are doing it online, see, if we are doing it in a classroom, face-to-face, that we have been using till recently, there we can use many other ways to retain the interest of the students. But here in online class, when everybody is free to stay there on screen or go away from the screen, it is necessary to take care of this factor to retain the attention and interest of the participants. So second is recent case. It should be recent. Third, novelty. It should be novel in some way. You see, many times you will see when we read cases, they look similar. They appear to be similar. They should not be like. There should be some kind of novelty, something new, something different in a case that retains the attention and interest of the students. Fourthly, multimedia. See, when we are using a case online, it must have multimedia support. That means digital and online support is required. So we should be able to depict certain things digitally. That retains the attention of the participants and that enhances the interest of the participants. Fifthly, the case should be well written. This is very important, although that's important in otherwise also. But here, because you are not there physically, so it should be well written means what? Well written means language should be very simple. Many times we have found that there are cases where language is very complex. Some authors feel that if we use complex language, say English language, complex language, it will be rated very high. This is not true. This is not true. It has to be simple language. Well written means simple language, so that everybody is able to understand the context, understand the situation given in the case. Sixthly, areas of, you see, in a case, when we are presenting a case, there should be some areas of tension and conflict. If it is not there, discussion will not happen. So case should be written in such a way that participants within themselves have a disagreement whether this is right or that is right. So that kind of conflict, that kind of tension should build on. Then only discussion will happen. Otherwise, it is just like a story, Gulshan Nanda's story. Why should they discuss? Okay, case is there, we have read it, all right. No, there should be some points of tension, some points of conflict where participants have point for discussion. They will discuss if there are disagreements. And then they may arrive at a consensus, fine, but then discussion is the bridge which takes them to consensus or correct understanding about the context. Then seventhly, multi-part. It should be multi-part. Multi-part means what? Multi-part means when we are having a case online, they should have, the participant should be able to rely on some other sources which relate to what is given in the case. It may be an article, it may be a blog, well-written blog, popular blog, it may be anything that with which they can, even it may take them from one concept to another concept, another case, a related case. that multi-part, part A, part B, C, that may retain the interest. So part A, part B, here I am not talking in terms of parts of the case. I am talking in terms of various sources. So case may take them to various sources. As I said, an article, a good article on that concept. It may take them to some other case, which may be in the same discipline, which may be explaining the same concept, but very beautifully, so that they can link it. So that's called multi-part. And then lastly, it has been observed that if we develop this mastery and do it well, then over the period of time, we can even use complex and long cases. So initially, we should use very simple cases. Simple means say 2 pages, 3 pages, 4 pages, 5 pages, that's all. Don't use very long cases initially, but over the period of time, and we graduate over it, then in the sense that we develop more mastery, more confidence, we can use even complex and long cases. May not be in one session. See, one question is many times asked in an online case discussion, how long should we keep a discussion on? If we think over it, case discussion can happen from few minutes to days together, weeks together. But generally, optimum period is less than a week. We should keep discussion on. We may keep discussion on, but less than a week. Maybe 2 days, say 2 sessions, 3 sessions. That's all. If it's a very small case, maybe in 1 session itself, but it can extend, a case can be extended to 2 sessions, 3 sessions also. But don't prolong it. Then they will lose interest because they will forget certain things. So with less than 1 week, we can discuss the case comfortably and the effectiveness will be retained. The effectiveness is ultimately important. So these are some of the tips which I have just shared with you. How cases are written, how cases can be discussed as a pedagogy in the class, and finally, online, how we can use cases effectively online. So in case there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You have set in the context so well, taking up all the 3 parts so well, from the case writing to case teaching and then to the online case teaching. And I think that brings me to my part of discussion. But before I really jump to that, I'll also tell you, sir, we have today been joined by some of the students from MDI, and they are also participating. They are also part of this workshop. Some of them are viewing it on through our YouTube channel. Because we had some student participants also, so I had the pleasure of inviting one of my case author, Dr. Sheetal Jain, with me. She would be, after my discussion, she would be taking, the students would typically maybe very much interested into what she has to share, because she comes with a very strong background of luxury marketing and how the whole scenario of luxury has changed. This is something which would be of a very strong, a very interesting part for my student participant, as also my faculty who would be keen on teaching cases or writing cases in that part. So with that, I'll just very quickly will talk about the cases that we had that are there with us. I'll just talk about some of the things, some of the challenges which we are talking about. We see here. I hope all of you can see my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, madam. It's visible, madam.
Right. So typically, I would spend. I think we have to close down on the stipulated time frame. So I'll very quickly talk about what exactly as sir has said. Cases can be anything. We are surrounded by cases, and I think today, when you're talking about case discussions, I think even without a written document, we can have a lot of discussions. Typically, in this situation today, my management students are also being sensitized to a lot of things which are happening around us, and everything today has become a case to us, whether it is how we are addressing the migrant labor problem, or whether how the corporate hospitals are addressing to the pandemic situation, or how WHO and IMF are addressing to the pandemic situation. So today, I think everything surrounding us is a case study. And even when you talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat, how we are going to really do it, or is it doable, not doable, and how companies would be coping up, the supply chain issues, the raw material issues, I think everything today is a case with us. And as we all know, case is a very, very important or a very strong tool for learning. And typically, since I have been joined by the students, I would also really like to bring that probably these cases are the one which really bring the inner reflection of a student in the classroom. So the analytical bent of mind which we actually want our management student to really have are developed best by when they come with a lot of discussions. And to do the discussion, a student needs to understand a problem and probably question, put up the right question. And probably this technique of case method is the most effective technique where a student can be really put into a situation, and probably from the situation he can identify certain issues, certain challenges, certain problems, and probably then is able to frame up certain questions which he would want an answers for. So probably this is something which is a very, very strong tool, and has we have been practicing in our classrooms. And at the same time, we have been training our students not only into decision making and analytical skills, but we have been training our students on the oral communication. I think if we use case method very effective in our classroom, probably the whole communication paper that we teach to the management student gets into the practice. And also what we talk about time management, and the one of the most important skill which we are today seeing lacking is something which we call as empathy. That is seeing the whole situation from other person's viewpoint or other perspective. And probably case method is a very, very strong tool into bringing up collaborative learning and sharing of ideas and appreciating ideas, or maybe debating ideas. So probably this tool has been very, very strongly used in developing the social connects. But till now, whatever were doing, we were primarily doing it into the classrooms. And so the student knew each other, and then the interpersonal skills could develop very nicely into a classroom, and probably they could be more communicative about it. But we know that this is a very, very strong tool. Case method is a very, very strong tool to take cases. And at the same time, we know the merit of the case method, even if we are teaching online, doesn't get deteriorated at any point in time. So when we look into the case method today, where we might have been forced to move online, or maybe some of the institutions like IMA, we have been primarily into distance education, and we have been doing handling cases online. So we really find that even with this situation, this whole activity, or the whole premise of using cases doesn't really get diluted when you're doing an online case teaching. So probably the four things which we actually look into a case method is how we actually make an individual student go through a case, how do we make them learn in small groups, and then how do we make them move to a larger group discussion, and then how do we reflect about a problem, and then see to it the possible solutions to a problem. And maybe these intermingling of ideas and contradicting of ideas are some of the things where the transfer of knowledge happens. And whatever we do in a case discussion, a lot of time, a lot passions would be there. People would be very passionate about the stand they're taking, and probably a lot of debating happens. But these emotions which are being generated through a case study are things which a student remembers even when he passes out from a classroom. And these discussions or the stand a student might have taken are something which continue in discussion with the student group and also with the faculty group almost for a semester. So a number of time we remember a student because he have taken up a certain stand in a particular case. And maybe we might remember our co-student in a classroom because he had taken up a certain stand. So when we look into this particular method, this method is a very, very strong tool, and it is not only to imbibe the conceptual learning or the theories, but making theory into practice. So generally, we have seen these case methods have been very, very strong tool in allowing student to take ownership of the idea they have floated. the public speaking which happens, and probably the way when we are putting up them into a case handling analysis situation, that is where he is put into the protagonist shoe and has been taking up decisions. So very strongly these case method have helped us to really do the teaching learning pedagogy very effectively. And but when we talk about now, since we are into a situation where some of the institution would not see a face-to-face class happening for till September, and maybe we are not very sure about the cities like Delhi and Mumbai, where even after September we would have some kind of classroom session happening. So the challenge is that when we are starting up the session this semester, how do you really bring this whole energy which is there in a classroom into energy which would be dissipated around the online platform? Because into the classroom teaching, I had the facial reaction, I had all the non-verbal communication which were happening, and the emotions were also reflected through these non-verbal communication. So how do I really take up this particular energy into this mode, this platform? Today my classrooms are empty, and all of us have moved into virtual platform, where we might have an opportunity to see each other faces, but a lot of time we are also challenged that as a faculty, I would want all of my students to really be connected to me with the video so that I can see their facial reaction. But a lot of time technology doesn't support us, and some of the time it is really invading the privacy also. So how do I really take up the classes online, and how do I really shift my whole teaching without losing the essence of teaching online? So I think this is something which where I have found that a lot of people, a lot of faculties have been reaching out to us also on understanding that whether the teaching would be same in the online platform, or would there be some kind of differences there? Would we be using some other cases in our online teaching today, or would can we still use the old cases? So there have been a lot of questions from the faculty side also. And maybe when you're preparing yourself for the curriculum to be started in July, these are some of the challenges which would always be there with the faculty, that how I become relevant at this point in time when I'm teaching cases online. And a lot of institutions have been doing almost 80% of their teaching through on cases. So how do they really take up this particular challenge? And then probably this is the time when we will be going back to and reaching out to or connecting to our students. They would be also asking us a lot of questions which have, or lot of situations which they had encountered in this last 2 months, and they would have a lot of issues which they want to discuss. They would want to understand why a certain corporate took certain stand, why government took certain stand, why the NGOs took certain stand. So there are a lot of things which a student would want we as a faculty to address. So how are we really going to cope up with it? This is one of the challenges that we faculty face. At the same time, what I see today is the expectations from a faculty have increased manyfold. And when I see manyfold, these are where I have actually now seeing that faculty is, initially faculty was a subject matter expert, and the faculty was supposed to really have a very thorough understanding of the subject and should be able to impart this understanding into a classroom. So the faculty was an actor into a classroom and a subject matter expert. So that was the two major expectations we had from a faculty. But today we are expecting our faculty to be technology savvy. Overnight, we have been forced to really take up with, attune ourselves with the technology, become so efficient that we can load up our cases, our teaching material, teaching tool onto online platforms. The LMSs which have been created, we are expected that now we can import all of our learning material on the LMS. At the same time, we are very, very comfortable with looking into the chat. So maybe I'm taking a class, I need to have a view on the chat which is happening. And if I'm using up some of the social media connects, then I am expected to be a champion into that. So that is where today a faculty is being challenged. At the same time, it is not only a challenge for a faculty. I mean, I will be talking about how my students are being today also challenged. So when you look into the major challenges that we are today facing, so typically the major challenges which we are facing is in terms of teaching online. A lot of us were not trained to teach online. We do not know how to engage student online, and probably how to really have that particular dialogue with the student, and how my attention span of the student has to be reached. So I can see even as faculties, we have joined in into this workshop, but maintaining this attention span is a big challenge. So generally we say attention span in a classroom already had deteriorated to less than 20 minutes. But in an online mode, it is, if I do not come back and I question my student and I really literally make him awake in a classroom, he is out in another 10 minutes. So this is where I have to really be very one of the major challenges, how I really engage my student into the classroom. How do I use these type of technologies in my classroom and still be relevant to what I'm teaching? And then how when I talk about online encouraging the collaboration, so probably in my classroom I was encouraging a lot of collaborative learning, but now how do I encourage this happening? Because students are not physically together, and probably they are not even connected so well together. So how do I really create those platforms of social sharing? And then how do I respond to the student questions? So a lot of times student may be challenged to really put up a text question. So how do I really make my this whole process of learning being supported by technology? And at the same time, when I talk about the quality, a lot of time people feel that the quality of the course would be a mediocre quality typically when we are teaching online. So these are some of the challenges which a teacher who has been teaching in a traditional format is now being faced. And this is what we actually are trying to see as to how we can cope up. But we are not the only one who are being challenged. Today my student is equally challenged. So I mean, half of my student did not have any idea till March or mid of March that they would be learning everything in their home environment. Home environment learning, I mean, we say that we create an environment of learning. Now the student is into this home environment. How does he learn into this home environment where he doesn't have that vibes which are actually coming to really come to a class dressed up for the class, sitting on a bench? The moment you sit on a bench, you are into a learning mode. And then when you open your pen and notebooks, then you are into a mode of learning happening there, and then you are so attuned to a blackboard, into a classroom. But today you have a laptop, and typically my students have been using the laptop to really see the movies probably, and they were not really keen on looking into these type of platforms of learning. So maybe this is another challenge which my student is today facing. I hope my slides, I'll just try to come back to my slide. I think I hope my slides are visible. Hello. Hello, I hope my slides are visible.
No, slides are not there.
No,
They're not there. Just
No,
give
no.
me a minute. I think I'll just try to figure out as to, I think I have done some now. That this is a major challenge we as a faculty are today facing, that once you want to really shift the focus into the classroom, how and when we have shifted ourselves into this mode, how do I really make sure that I am actually into you comfortable with the technology? So this is something which I was discussing. So we are talking about shifting the classroom. The challenge is not only with us, but challenge is also with the student. So when you look into the student challenges, these are some of the challenges in terms of digital literacy. All of the student may not be so digitally sound, or maybe do not have an access to or maybe are not very comfortable to learn digitally. Because this generation that we are teaching, though they have been the digitally savvy generation, but probably learning has not really taken place much for this student community which we are today teaching. Maybe the students the children who are into the age group of maybe 8 to 10 years would be far more comfortable to learn digitally. But the generation to which we are today teaching had gone to proper schools and colleges, and probably digital was something which was only as an entertainment tool. At the same time, we are also being challenged that we have actually shifted the responsibility of the learning environment to the student. So today, student needs to have the complete technology set up at his place rather than institute having the technological setup. So if you look into all the infrastructures that we have created at our business schools, we have created an excellent infrastructure. We have created excellent multimedia rooms. We have created excellent classrooms, which were interactive classrooms. But today, these are the things we are expecting the students to have with at his end. He needs to have device. He also needs to have connectivity, and he also needs to really be very savvy about use of these tools and techniques. Now, the another challenge is time management. A lot of time when you are in a B school and you're into the living into the hostel, you already have an environment. Then a whole batch gets up at a time, goes to the classroom at a time. But you are in a home environment, time management has become a major challenge. Another challenge that I find with my students, typically when we do a survey, is the motivation. I find that most of the students, when we talked about, they said it's okay to do some online classes, but a regular online class, it's really painful. So maybe most of them are today still around 20 to 25% of the student are the one who are comfortable with online learning. Rest still want to come back to the classroom. So we would be teaching ourselves into this situation where we have technological challenges. Technology was always there with us. We are actually now shifting from can use a lot of synchronous and asynchronous technology. So what we are actually facing is that probably we need to reinvent as to what are the tools which we would be using. How are we going to make sure that webinars, video lectures, that we are creating our interactive lectures. At the same time, how we are using up these platforms, the chat platforms, for effective delivery of the classroom. So even when I'm running a class or class online, how do I use social media platform to create the discussions forums? So these are some of the things which are now the need of the day. And probably I need to really bring up a lot of voting and a lot of discussion boards into my classroom, so that this particular discussion happens into real time and real activity is generated. And typically when I'm running this case that I'm teaching for another week, probably I need to be very, very creative about it. So a lot of time, these use of multimedia tools, typically the animations, maybe the video cases, maybe the video interview from the protagonist or the case company, are very effective tool. And probably we are also looking into the audio visual. A lot of audio diaries are also available. Probably we can incorporate all of these audio diary concept or the video cases in our into our whole teaching learning process. And at the same time, gamification has become a very, very fantastic tool to utilize in the case. So maybe when you're dividing the case into multiple groups, we can gamify it and maybe have some kind of motivations onto the levels they would be reaching. And maybe a simulation class is something which we can really experiment. So technology is there with us, but we actually need to really work very effectively with this use of technology. So when it comes to synchronous learning, today we have been flooded with various options for running a class, a live class, live virtual class. We have from Zoom to Teams to Blackboard and Canvas. A lot of them are very, very effective tools. Even in Zoom, we can break the class into groups, and probably when we are from these groups, I can enter as a faculty into these groups. These groups can do the discussion into their small rooms there, and probably as a faculty I can go and monitor and then bring them back into the total discussion. So the way that we were dividing the classes into small groups for discussion, that can happen with the use of technology. And probably Canvas or Blackboard or Zoom has got excellent options for it. At the same time, when you're talking about use of technology, probably the quizzes and the if I'm really doing maybe a very quick review on a case, maybe a survey method of a Google form can be introduced into the classroom. Or maybe when we are looking into discussion threads, we can use WhatsApp. WhatsApp and Twitter has been very effectively used in my own classroom when I'm discussing the cases. WhatsApp has been very effectively used for collaborative learning and sharing of the ideas, and lot of discussion happens, lot of passionate discussion actually happen. So they can be very effectively used. And typically when we are talking about role plays, I think Zoom has been a very, very excellent platform to even for the role plays. And maybe a lot of videoing platforms or small video development platforms, though we're not a very strong promoter of TikTok, but has been very effective in adding it into the learning pedagogy. So when it comes to simulation, I think you might also look into IMA simulation game platform. BizLab is an excellent example. And when you're talking about developing a collaborative document, today we have a lot of portal sites which are very, very effective in helping us to develop a collaborative document. So these are some of the things I thought that can be utilized in our online learning process. And probably when it comes to the demonstration, I think a lot of demonstrations can also happen, and probably YouTube can also be effectively used for a teaching tutorial. So maybe if I want to have some pre-learning to be discussed, maybe I can utilize YouTube, not only the videos of YouTube, but also my own videos can be put on YouTube so that students can view them and then can prepare with the class discussion. So maybe the theory that I wanted to discuss, or I have already put in as a pre-read into my YouTube channel and linked that channel to my complete discussion, or maybe the class notes preparation that I'm doing. So my pre-read is in form of a YouTube where I've created a video lecture there. And then a student, when they come to the classroom, they are now discussing the case there. And maybe the opening of the case starts with a use of a multimedia technique, and maybe an interview with the protagonist or the case company, or maybe the case company's background can be done through a use of video about the case. So when you go into a lot of companies' website, you'll find a lot of case studies, best practice case study, background case of the organization cases. A lot of video tools are available. So now, as I said, now we have to be more curator of the material rather than just teaching a material. So this is what we has come in. So I'll just end up my discussion here. I will invite Sheetal. I can go on, but I know that there is a time constraint. I will invite Sheetal for a very quick discussion on her part. I am being so pleased that she is there with us today, and I would want Sheetal to take it further from me and sensitize our participants about the challenges or the new the whole luxury sector is facing. As I said, Sheetal has been one of our case author and is a promoter of Luxury Analytics, a company which she has been running for almost 5-10 years now. So over to you, Sheetal.
A very good evening to all of you, and thank you, Dr. Anuja, for having me here. I hope all of you can hear me. Am I audible?
Yes, Sheetal.
Okay. So as I know there's paucity of time, so I'll be quickly just talking about that. As we all know, these are difficult times. These are COVID times, and across the world, across sectors, we know that the pandemic has hit massively. And if we talk from food to fashion, from tourism to aviation, from entertainment to education, I think almost everything has been really, really affected by this pandemic, and luxury industry is no exception to this. And when I talk about luxury industry, of course, China is one of the main consumers. The maximum demand for the luxury today across globe comes from China. Around 33% of the luxury market is captured by China. And we know the Chinese market was the first one to get hit by the pandemic. And the second one was the Italian market. And Italy comprises of around 40% of production of luxury industry. So of course, then we can see at both the ends, on the demand and supply side, the luxury has been completely hit, and there has been weakening demands. There has been, disrupted supply chains. And a recent report by Bain and Company suggests that, by the end of this year, 2020, up to 30 to 35%, the luxury sales, global sales could go down. Now, the basic thing I think which will be very important for the students here and the participants, even while they are writing case, or while they are thinking of writing case on luxury industry, that there has been paradigm shift in the consumer behavior. So even if I talk about particularly luxury consumer behavior, that there has been three key shifts. First shift, if I say in nutshell, is shift from conspicuous consumption to considered consumption. Now we all are thinking about sustainability, greener consumption. We all, and particularly millennials, Gen Z, they are more concerned into what goes into their product. And there's one statistics then in March in China, the Tesla sales grew by 450%. So you can imagine, being green car, the amount of sales, right? There has been tremendous increase in the sales. So this is what is the future all about. They'll be because last 2 months almost we have been in lockdown, we have been quarantined. So we have known that less is more. We'll be going more for mindful consumption. Maybe rather than youngsters buying, 10 things from Zara, probably they pick up one thing, from Chanel or from, Louis Vuitton, which they find as investments rather than expenditure, rather than, adding to the landfill, rather than putting a burden on the environment. So this kind of thought process is there in the consumer's mind, which will have great implication on the companies. So all the companies, if they have to survive today, they have to think about going green, going sustainable. And it is not that this has been brought by COVID. COVID has just been, a catalyst and the accelerator to this. These things were already there. Even pre-COVID, we were talking about all this. But now, companies were complacent that, they'll see about it. But now companies have no way. Either they have to go this way, or probably they'll die before they have ever thought they'll die. Secondly, most important shift which we are seeing in consumer behavior, particularly in case of the high-end consumers, is there has been shift from the consumption for others to consumption for self. We do consumption now more for hedonistic value. We are more believing in well-being, in health. So that is the way for future. And we know, and one such great example I can give to you, that post lockdown in China, we saw that in one of the luxury stores, Hermes, there was a single day sales of $2.7 million, which was called as revenge shopping. So this is what, the thing is happening, that those who have money and they have not splurged for the last 2 months. So once, there'll be a complete, will open up, and there'll be the fear of pandemic will be no more. So such things can also be visible in India, that, once everything settles down, of course, there'll be more and more of the demand, and that demand will be for self-indulgence, for buying for us rather than for others. And so therefore the company should go for more storytelling and being more authentic, being more relevant. And the companies which will do something for the society at this point of time, they'll be the one the customers will accept. For example, a lot of luxury brands, from Louis Vuitton to L'Oreal to BMW, they have used their facilities for making masks, for making surgical gowns, or for making ventilators, because this time of crisis is to give back to the society. And so the companies which will be more responsible towards the society will, of course, be the winners. And the third and most important shift, which we have seen across sectors, and luxury industry is no exception for that, is shift towards digital. So as we have been talking, we are having webinars. Last 2 months, I don't know how many webinars I have attended. Because it has become the way of our lives. We have shopped online. We are getting things online. So even post pandemic, I think online will become a way of our lives. Just like we remember during those 2016 when demonetization happened. So most of the people who were reluctant to go for online payments are today doing it. And similarly, it will happen for the, we going digital for buying. So this is a situation when companies should, they should just get up and they should just make quick decisions of going digital. And particularly in case of the luxury domain where, the companies and the brands have been reluctant to go digital because the very nature of luxury is all about exclusivity. And when we talk about digital, it is all about inclusivity. So these two things are very, very different from each other. But still, now the challenge lies on how these companies can create that exclusivity and yet being inclusive, how they can create that multi-sensory physical store experience on the web stores. Because we don't know, for how long this pandemic rests, whether it will come back again, and what will be the fear that will rest in our minds. So, they all have to be prepared to go digital to now, and specifically for millennials who are all the time digital. So, to capture this market, the best quote is you have to go everywhere where your customers are. At least you have to give all the options. So these kind of changes are there, and the companies will embrace these changes, the companies who will, use technology for operational efficiencies as well as to give best experiences to the consumers will be in the win-win situations. And the companies will not be able to embrace these changes. Of course, for them, it will be a tough time. And maybe, as we have been hearing, even the best, the legendary departmental luxury stores like Neiman Marcus has filed bankruptcy. So we know it's a difficult time for so many companies, and even for the luxury companies, it remains the same. So if they want to survive, if they want to stay, they have to adapt to the changing conditions, and they have to go green, go digital, be relevant, be purposeful. They have to think of new business models. They have to think of new product categories. And even like, brands like Louis Vuitton have come up with equipments as a new category because now we can't go to gym. So Louis Vuitton has come up with equipments. They have come with masks. So think of these new product categories, that how you can survive. So I think I'm through with my time. I can speak hours and hours for the luxury. So any participants have any questions, they can directly connect with me. I'm founder of Lux Analytics. So I'll be happy to help. But I'll end my talk, my small talk, with a very important quote, which I think applies for everything, for education sector or for any sector, that, this is a quote by Charles Darwin. So it is neither the strongest nor the most intelligent will survive. It is the one who will adapt to the changing conditions will only survive. So it is for all of us, for students, for faculty, for everyone, that we have to change. We have to reinvent ourselves to be, to be relevant for today's time. With that, thank you so much for giving me this platform.
Thank you, Sheetal, for a wonderful insight, and you have a tremendous understanding of this industry. We could have done a more interactive session, but thank you for this insight. Very quickly, you have done that. With that, we come to the end of the session because we already have another session of IMA, which would be on YouTube live very soon. I would request Dr. Bikramjit Pal from MDI to give the final word there.
Hello, am I audible, madam?
Yes, sir.
Am I audible, madam?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Anuja Pandey. I, on behalf of MDI Murshidabad, thank AIMA and all the resource persons for this wonderful workshop. We hope that there will be many such joint initiatives between MDI and AIMA in the days to come. I'm sure the workshop was enriching for all the participants. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all the participants for joining. I think we had a number of questions, but I could not really take it. My sincere apologies. But I welcome you all to join our next session for the day. This is a session which we are going live. We have the yesteryears IPS officer, Ms. Kiran, to really take this particular session forward. So please join us on YouTube that we are going live with our next session. A very, very interesting session. Thank you all for joining, and stay connected. Do register at our AIMA India Case Research Portal site. And thank you very, very much for a very patient participation. And thank you all the eminent panelists who have joined us today. I thank Director MDI. I thank Professor Shavik. I thank Dr. Upendra Dhar for the valuable insight that you have done in a very short span, covered the three major aspects of case development. And thank you, Dr. Bikramjit Pal, for very crisp thank you note. Thank you so much. Thank you all. See you again.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.